I got involved in this project basically because I never grew up. And as a kid, I grew up in upstate New York, and that's where I still live now. And I grew up walking around the woods, and that led me to get a couple degrees, one of which was with this guy, Tom Wessels. I got my master's degree, and Tom never grew up either. He likes to walk around the woods, but he developed a sort of a sophisticated eye for teasing out the stories that are embedded in the landscape. And my job, which became the greatest job in the world, was to come here and tease those same stories out of this landscape. And so, as Bob said about Dan, he did the same thing for me. He just said, basically, go find stories out on the landscape. And so I crisscrossed the land as much as I could. I think I've been on every acre. I might have missed one or two. But as acreage keeps getting bought, I am not there to water it. And so I keep trying to pull out these stories from landscape. And so I'm going to read kind of just this kind of introductory bit from stuff that I wrote. I was going to read about rocks, but I think this would be better. On my first tour of the parklands, the narrow, winding roads were disorienting. I knew what I really needed to do was get by myself with a map and figure the place out. I spent the next few days wandering around the King property and Floyd's Fork Park and along Floyd's Fork itself. I identified lots of plants, learned new trees such as chinkapin oak. I remember the temperature was in the 90s, oppressive for October. I walked through the stream wearing sandals, trying to stay busy, trying to stay in the shade. I remember being impressed by the obvious signs of flooding, log piles, the ripped up stumps, the gravel bars. The stream was just a trickle that month. I tried to imagine it, its full flooding force, creating all that I was seeing. I was also struck by the sameness of the stones and the gravel in the stream. I was used to streams in glaciated country, where rocks are all different and completely unrelated to the local geology. Here, as an unglaciated stream, the rocks were very much the same, all from local bedrock. There's an amazing beauty in that purity. I walked in the water, picking up fossils, amazed. There are no fossils where I come from. I keyed out Osage orange and a number of smilax or greenbrier vines. They were new for me as well, and I sat patiently puzzling over them without reaching any solid conclusion. One of those days, I wandered along a fence line in the woods along the soccer field, Floyd's Fork Park. I found an old shagbark hickory tree with a fence line running through the middle of it. I puzzled out the history of the site, with 2 ages of the forest on either side of the fence line, and the old tree in the middle. I was happy to have found at least one story, one agricultural relic. And if I accomplished nothing else in 20 weeks, I would at least have this one story I was commissioned to find. I had no idea I would end up documenting nearly 400 sites. I had no idea the landscape was so rich and full of landscape history. Some sites at Floyd's Fork are so complex, I still can't accurately puzzle them out. And so, I left the project about a year ago to be closer to family, and I flew in today, and I got a rental car, and the first thing I did after lunch was I drove out to Floyd's Fork Park, and I wanted to take a run down the South Public Road, the kind of driveway that goes back for the King House. But there was construction going on, so that was interesting because it was kind of this realization, wow, this is actually happening. But perhaps better is it meant I couldn't take a run down the road. So what I did instead was I put my sandals on and I walked down Floyd's Fork through the stream, which fortunately for me was only knee deep today. And it was just wonderful to walk down through there. Because of construction, it wasn't as quiet as it's been in the past, but that'll change in a few months. And it's an incredibly rich landscape. And this landscape, just as much as Alaska, where I was working this summer, or the Grand Canyon, or name any place you love, this landscape rewards attention. And so I'd encourage you, when the place is open, to go out there and by yourself and just be quiet and be attentive and let the rewards come to you, because seems like just abandoned farmland on the edge of the city, but it's a truly remarkable place. And so thank you to all of you for making the job I had the best job in the world of walking around the woods, taking pictures, writing about it. Because without you all, I would never have had that Daniel Boone style opportunity, and neither would the generations and generations and generations that are alive here who are going to be able to do the same thing. So thanks.